Welcome back to the channel. This video we're looking at the proof of the Ethereum crash being great news for Bitcoin buyers. It has also been great news to show us the signals of altcoins getting weaker, and the time is getting closer to be dollar cost averaging into some stronger altcoins, and of course Ethereum and Bitcoin, the two main players that reduce the risk and help us through the bear markets in cryptocurrencies. So that's what we're looking at in today's video. Quick shout out to Bybit. Check out the link in the top of the video description. Up to $4,100 of sign-up bonuses, plus exclusive to this channel and my brother's channel, Michael Pizzino. 4 lucky winners can win half an ETH each. So it's a total value of just under $4,000. Use that link. The winners will be drawn in about a week and a half's time. So check that out before that offer is ended. And of course, the $4,100 of sign-up bonuses. We're here in Monaco this weekend, Red Bull Racing Team. It's starting in a few hours, so let's take a look at the markets. The S&P 500 is what I'm looking at first. This is still working out to be one of those signals of the market holding up. Of course, Bitcoin and the S&P, the stock market, we're seeing this reversal. This reversal has started since the 12th of May. So we've got a good reversal here. 12th, we had about 3 days up, and then we had 3 days down. This was a lower low, technically, looking at the price, but since that low, we had a higher low. You can see that right here, and then the market taking off for 2 days. So this is forming a base on the S&P, and we've obviously been seeing that on Bitcoin as well, which has held up better than the S&P. And then why I say better is because we didn't get a lower low on the 20th of May. Bitcoin has been holding up, ETH has been holding up, and now the S&P is forming this short-term base. It did hit our projected target of 150% from the double top, so this was a more macro play. In terms of a trade, boom, it's a beautiful play there. Double top came all the way to 150%. I think longer term, we're probably still coming back down to around the 200%, so around 3,600 or even 3,500. Now, of course, I always say that this is important to check, having a holistic view of the markets so that we have a bit of a projection of this next major low for ETH and Bitcoin. I see the comments, people saying, well, alts are low, you should be buying them now. I still think many of the alts will probably drop at least 50% from their current price. I know they look very cheap now. Wait till they drop 50%, it's going to look even more amazing. That's how I'm playing the market. If you have a different strategy and you can't hold out for that, sure, do your thing. But this is just the way I'm playing the market, and that's what I'm sharing with you guys here on the channel. With that said, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, bell notification icon, like the video. It does obviously push the content out in the YouTube algorithm so more people can see this content and stay safe in the markets. That's the whole point of this, managing your risk. Okay, so S&P, I think we've still got that bounce, potentially coming up to around that sort of 4,000, 4,100 point level to test these lows, and then we'll see what happens. Doesn't really matter. We just want to see how the market reacts at those lows, whether it comes a little bit above or hits resistance and then comes back down. Now, I think that low is probably a little bit longer. Maybe June, July, we start to head up, to June and then start to fade our way back down until that July, August. And of course, if I am wrong, we'll see a low form at a higher low and then that market start to reverse from that point. And that's obviously going to play out into Bitcoin and ETH. Fear and greed, quick check, still extreme fear. And basically for our fear and greed plan, we've been buying Bitcoin since the 9th of May. This is at 11 on the fear and greed, and the highest it got was 14, and 14 again on the 22nd, and which means it's a buy signal every single day. So that just lowers our average Bitcoin price here on the plan. I'll do an update of this on the channel in the next few days as well, just to show what that average price is for Bitcoin. But as we can see, basically extreme fear at 12, 11, 13. Anything 15 or under was a buy on the plan. Nothing above, just 15 or under. The Bitcoin dominance, we had that turnaround just yesterday. Basically, a short-term rejection here. It got to 47%. Looking higher than that, I'm looking at about that sort of 47.5%. Like I said in yesterday's video, about 48, 49%. See how the market reacts. And I think this has occurred over the last 24 hours because we're now seeing a lot of the altcoins just pull a little bit of their Bitcoin gains back after getting decimated by Bitcoin over the last 2 to 3 days. You can see Bitcoin went from 45% to 47%, and that sort of equated to, I think it was about 12% loss in all of the cryptocurrency. So all cryptos excluding Bitcoin and ETH. Speaking of ETH, the ETH crashed yesterday. Let's have a look at the 4-hour chart. Now, I'm not looking at 15-minute charts. I'm just looking at the hourlies, 4 hourlies, dailies at this point. You can see this low got really close to that bottom. It obviously broke down. We saw this being a weaker crypto than Bitcoin. Doesn't mean that I'm not interested in dollar cost averaging into ETH, but I definitely saw as it broke 19, I was sure we would probably test at least 18 or 17 at this point. So that's why I don't put my buy orders at 19. Like I wouldn't want to just sit my dollar cost averaging buy orders for ETH here at these lows, because if it does break, you can see that it broke quite significantly. See that drop? And then the next 4-hour bar dropped again, tested that underside perfectly, and then came back down and tested those lows. So rather than sort of set my dollar cost averaging on ETH at every $100 on the way down, I just look for those areas where there'll be more support, or just not set them at the breakout of the weakness. So the support here was 1900, but it broke right through that, and it happened heaps of times. The trend was down, so I'm like, well, I don't think it's going to hold that support for much longer. It broke through that. That's why I'm not setting it at 1890 or something like that. I'd set it further down at the 17s. Looking lower down on Ethereum in terms of other areas for, say, like a dollar cost averaging play, the level underneath here at around 1400, which is a previous all-time high, is looking pretty juicy at the moment as well, especially if this does play out to the downside. Of course, like I've just said, I think Bitcoin and the stock market are still trying to play out and test those upper bands. We're going to look at the Bitcoin price in a sec. But from this low at 17, maybe we come back and test the underside again at around 1900. Maybe we try to break into the 2000 again. But it is obviously looking a little bit, well, it is definitely factually weaker than Bitcoin at the moment. But yeah, we've tested this 1700 quite a few times. So probably over the course of the next few months, if we do come back down to 1400, that's 71% from the all-time high. So that's looking much better as a risk-reward play than all of the other dollar cost averagings in from $4,000 all the way down. In terms of where we currently are to that low, that's sitting at sort of 1800 now. So 18 to the 1400, that's a 21% drop. So maybe there's a saving there of 21%. And if I look to this other crazy projection, I know it's crazy, $800, don't worry about it, it's just a number, $800, 55% drop from the current price. So that's sort of all working in with all the other charts that I'm looking at in terms of altcoins potentially dropping another 50%. I'm getting more excited at these prices because the wait is nearly, finally over. I can set those orders on the way down if I so choose to, if I don't want to have to set my alerts and then buy the crypto. But in terms of setting those dollar cost averaging, it just makes a little more sense to look back on the chart and see where these support and resistance zones are. If we don't think $800 is going to hit, just have a look at the other lows. What do we got here? $1,000, $1,100, $900. Like these are just lower targets. Now I've got this area circled here as well, with a square. Just looking at November and then into December. So this works better on a weekly chart, just to clear out some of the noise. There's too many bars there on a daily. Just nice and simple. Let's bring it back to really, really easy to look at. So November, look at the day on the breakout. That was the 28th. So this is the week of. Whenever these dates are here, it's the starting price of the week. Let me have a look at here, 23rd of May. Yeah, it's the Monday bar. So 28th is the breakout. Now I'm going to quickly skip to Bitcoin and just have a look at this crazy, shocking proof that we're looking at good news, at least for the short term, for Bitcoin to have a bit of a bounce. Bitcoin, it might not come as a surprise to some people, but Bitcoin tends to have its move, and then a week or two later, Ethereum finishes its move off as well. So Bitcoin has been on the way down. It hasn't fallen as low as Ethereum, and Ethereum has finally got to this low point after 8 weeks. Now we want to see the weekly close, which is going to be in 2.5 days' time, and just hope that this closes above the week of the 9th of May. That's going to be the first signal to say, look, we're finally grinding to that slow stop before we can just test those higher prices. So going back to Bitcoin, look at this first, 23rd of May, 9th of May, cool. We had the 28th of March, the 4th of April. Bitcoin, we had 21st, 28th, then Bitcoin faded away on the 4th of April, a lot more than ETH, whereas ETH was still at these highs and then started to fade away. I'll throw this onto the candles as well, just so it matches here on Bitcoin. Bitcoin, 8th of November. So basically what we're looking at here is Bitcoin doing the move first, Ethereum following a week or two later, and then Bitcoin changing its move, going the opposite direction and starting that next trend. 8th of November, 15 it had crashed. it had broken beneath our swing low here, which was our first signal to get out of all the risky alts back in November of 2021. So we posted to our members in Patreon. If you want to join us for the weekly group calls, link is in the top of the video description. We're trading cryptos and also looking at a lot of real estate as well. Just looking at the overall cycle, the holistic view here for our portfolios. 22nd of November down, and then this week of the 29th, the crash day was on the 4th of December. That week, it's basically done at that point. Bitcoin is smashed. ETH, on the other hand, held up. You see the 8th, 15th, 22nd, there's the 29th. You can see we almost got back to that previous all-time high, and then we had that dump as well. So it was holding out pretty well at those highs. You can take another step back. We know from April, May of 2021, this is the April top for Bitcoin, the 12th of April, that's the week of, and then we went into our peak of the 10th of May. So ETH went on a run for an extra 2 weeks or so than it usually does. All right, so I'm just looking back here at a lot of these times when Bitcoin had topped, then ETH had topped. Bitcoin bottoms, then ETH bottoms, or it goes on its move towards that low again. And so I think we're seeing that now. So whether it's this week where we get that higher low for ETH and for Bitcoin, and maybe it's next week that we get that sort of grinding move up, it does look like, at least according to history, that we should get that move back above to come up and test those levels. So this last one here I'll have a look at. Oh, I've got one more as well. 16th, you see the breakout was on the 28th. This is Ethereum, went on to that final high on the 15th. Bitcoin was topping around that January period. So let's have a look back. You can see it broke out here on the 14th. So it had that little accumulation, and then it broke out on the 14th, whereas ETH had the accumulation, then broke out on the 28th. So it was 2 weeks later. Then Bitcoin topped on the 4th of January, then went on to that next high on the 15th of February. And then for ETH, 4th of January is here in this first little top, and then it went on this next breakout high into the 15th as well. But it was still on this really strong move while Bitcoin was having a struggle street here and fell back into those lows before Elon Musk did his tweets, and then the markets decided to move up again. The last one was back here in August on that first initial breakout. So you can see the top here for Bitcoin 17th of August, 24th, and then we have the top here on the 31st, so that lower swing top. Ethereum, on the other hand, it had top on the 17th, well, slightly lower, and then the 31st was the top before it crashed as well. So you're really starting to see this proof of Ethereum just trailing Bitcoin's moves, and I think that's what we're looking at right now. And we are feeling and seeing that grinding hold on Bitcoin. Everyone's getting sick of it. They're getting bored with what's going on in the market, and eventually we start to get that little pump back up. Psychologically, people will flood back into the markets and think, crap, I've missed out on these lows at 28, 29K. Maybe the price pumps up to 33, 34,000. Maybe at best we sort of get up to these underside levels here at $37,000 or $38,000. If it goes a bit higher, so be it. I still think we've probably got some other lows to play out here on Bitcoin. Of course, if I'm wrong, we just check the chart again, see where the breakout is, and then where the market comes back to find support, potentially in a higher low. But this is what I'm looking at right now, this grinding hold. And eventually, I know it's taken a long time. Looking at 2.5 weeks here. This is just how the markets work. We'll look for that grinding move all the way back up. Of course, the dominance, we also saw that. The ETH breakdown, the ETH crash, getting closer towards this 50% zone. You can see this trend line. It finally broke through that level. That was what we looked at specifically. The market holding here just for that moment, but it did look like it was going to break down from this level, which means that ETH has now gotten weaker than BTC, which is interesting because even the Bitcoin dominance has fallen away a bit, but I think all of the other cryptos have taken those few percent gains back across the board. BNB 1%, XRP 3%. You've got 7% on Polkadot, which is more than Bitcoin has made in the last 24 hours, so 2.3%. So any crypto that's done over 2.3% is pulling some of that Bitcoin share back. Example, Polkadot, 7.4%. So it's clawing back about 5% over the BTC value. So in the short term, we're just grinding. We are grinding so hard to hold up at these levels. Bitcoin went on that little crash yesterday, and then we look at those moves higher to some of those resistance points, probably around 2.5% to the top here at around that 30,700. So it's about 5% away. And then to the downside is a better risk reward play, looking at 2% beneath these stops. So if you had your purchase order here, then the smart money's looking to hold their stop somewhere around 28,500, and then look to that reward to risk play somewhere up at about 30,000 to about $30,700 just to continue to trade that range on leverage because, a few percent isn't that great, but a 10x is 30% to them. And then to the downside, 2% stop loss. Make sure they've got that stop loss in because, of course, you don't want to be wiped out in the market. And the last thing we'll look at is the total 3 market caps. This is everything excluding Bitcoin and ETH. We did go on that move down. We're starting to hold up at that higher low again. So this is not Bitcoin, not Ethereum. This is all the other cryptocurrencies. Again, a bit of a grinding halt here. If we are wrong, we'll know pretty soon at a price that is very close to that current low as well. And that market would then just break down and break through that support and look towards the next low point. You can see that's a pretty solid, has been a pretty solid support. I think eventually it'll get broken down, but maybe we just go on that little bit of a bounce in the short term. Once we break down, I'm looking at levels below here at around 320 billion. So that's the total market cap of altcoins. And then back to this range, which I think is going to be a very significant play in the coming months, around that November, December, January period of all of the markets, altcoins, Ethereum, Bitcoin. I think the market eventually wants to grind its way back to these levels. And then I think that's probably a good play for strong, not all altcoins, but strong altcoins for a dollar cost averaging play. Even though, it might not be the exact low, but I think that's going to save me. This is the way I'm playing it. You can do your own thing. It's going to save me another 50% on my altcoins. Of course, as always, I can be wrong, but this is just the way I'm playing the market to hopefully save myself another 50 to potentially sort of 60 or 70% on those altcoin plays. Bybit link, video description, $4,100 sign up bonuses. Join us on our weekly live group calls. Patreon link is down below as well. And of course, with the Bybit link, up to you got 4 lucky winners, half an ETH each, nearly a $4,000 prize pool over there as well, being drawn in a week and a half. Like and subscribe. You're joining me here in Monaco for the F1 weekend. I'm going to go out and check out the I think it's practice this afternoon on Friday, and then qualifying is tomorrow. So yeah, we'll see you guys on Instagram and Twitter as well. I'll post some stories over there. Thanks again for joining me. See you at the next one. Till then, have more fun to get more done.